The case we are discussing today occurred in 2013 at the tranquil Zhao Qi Lake in the village of Xiangzhou, Shanxi Province. The body of a young woman was discovered floating on the surface of the lake, marking not only the tragic end of her promising life, but also the beginning of a complex and prolonged investigation that gradually unveiled dark secrets. As the police followed each clue, they were confronted with a series of challenging questions. What was the cause of the victim's death? Who was responsible for this tragedy? What complex relationships and hidden lies were behind a story that initially seemed simple but ultimately led to a horrifying truth about the crime? Stay with us until the end of the video as we uncover every hidden detail and the dramatic twists in today's case. A horrifying discovery by a fisherman. Mr. Huang, a 50-year-old man living in Xiangzhou village, Lichang County, Shanxi Province, had a deep passion for recreational fishing. Whenever he had free time, he would grab his fishing rod and head to the lake, spending entire days there from early morning until late at night. Often, his wife had to chase him home from the lake, and sometimes he had to flee around the village. However, he would rather endure his wife's daily scolding than give up his beloved hobby. In mid-May 2013, due to a relative's funeral in his hometown, Mr. Huang had to be away for a week before returning. On the morning of May 23rd, around 8 a.m., he gathered his gear and drove to the lake as usual. By that time, the sun was already high, casting a glare on the water that made everything around appear hazy and uncomfortable. Squinting to see more clearly, he suddenly noticed something floating on the surface of the lake. The object was pinkish in color and stood out prominently. Upon closer inspection, goosebumps covered Mr. Huang's body. It turned out to be a human corpse. He quickly used his phone to report the incident to the police. At 8:20 a.m., police from Lichang County arrived at the scene. The location was a small body of water known as Zhao Qi Lake, situated in Xiangzhou village. At this point, the lake's surface was relatively calm, and the body was floating about 4 to 5 meters from the shore. The water around the corpse had an oily sheen, likely caused by adipocere, a waxy substance released during decomposition, using a small boat borrowed from a local resident. Law enforcement officers rowed out to retrieve the body, successfully pushing it to the shore before bringing it onto land. Forensic doctors provided the following insight into the decomposition process of a human body in water. Upon initial submersion, the body quickly sinks due to water entering the lungs and stomach. After approximately 15 to 24 hours, putrefaction begins. During this stage, bacteria within the body produce gases that cause it to bloat and float. At the current stage, the epidermis on the body had begun to separate. The hands and feet exhibited signs of glove and sock detachment, which occur within 24 to 48 hours of submersion. Based on these observations, forensic experts initially estimated that the victim had been deceased for at least 3 days. However, this was only a theoretical assumption. For a more precise conclusion, an in-depth forensic examination would be necessary. Forensic examination: the mystery of the victim's identity. The victim was a female, approximately 1.6 meters tall, with short black shoulder-length hair. The forensic doctor estimated her age to be around 20 to 25 years old. Based on this, she was a very young woman. However, the critical question remained: how did she die? Was it an accidental fall into the lake leading to drowning? Or was she deliberately murdered and her body discarded? To determine the cause of death, the police needed to wait for the results of a thorough autopsy. At this point, investigators turned their attention to the victim's clothing. She was wearing a pink fitted t-shirt and dark blue denim shorts. The t-shirt was cropped, ending above the waist, and the shorts were extremely short. An examination of the clothing material revealed that it was relatively new and made of durable fabric. The victim's body showed no visible injuries, strangulation marks, or scratches, only fixed livor mortis stains. However, her face was severely swollen, making identification difficult. The police recovered a few personal items belonging to the deceased, including a black hair clip and a Buddha pendant necklace. The hair clip was simple in design, unremarkable, and commonly sold in many places. The Buddha pendant necklace, which depicted Maitreya, was not very valuable and mainly symbolized wishes for peace and good fortune. The victim was also wearing open-toe high-heeled boots. The black stockings she wore featured fringe detailing at the cuffs, while the boots had a block heel approximately 7 centimeters high. The shoes appeared relatively new, with little wear. Her fingernails and toenails were neatly trimmed and painted in vibrant colors. Based on the overall assessment of her attire and personal items, the police found no clear leads. The cause of her death remained a mystery, and the investigation team continued to wait for forensic results to shed light on the case. The police noted that the victim's fashion sense was trendy, suggesting she paid close attention to her appearance. A meticulous search of the victim's clothing revealed no items that could help identify her. Law enforcement also combed the grass and surrounding areas near the lake shore, but found no significant evidence. Crime scene and initial police theories. Xiangzhou village is a rural community with a modest standard of living, where fashionably dressed individuals like the victim are a rare sight. Most residents engage in manual agricultural labor, frequently interacting with mud and dirt, making it impractical to maintain long nails or focus on their appearance. Based on this, the police speculated that the victim might not have been a local, or if she was, her occupation likely did not involve manual labor. Lichang County is home to 3 natural lakes, primarily used for irrigation of rice fields and other crops. Among them, Zhao Qi Lake is the smallest. Besides Mr. Huang, who reported the discovery, a few young men frequently fished there. When questioned, they revealed they had visited the lake days before, but fished mainly on the opposite shore, far from where the body was found. Consequently, they had not noticed the corpse floating on the water. The lake is bordered by a wide concrete canal adjacent to a road connecting Xiangzhou and Muyang villages. Though the road is frequently traveled, its elevation above the lake, coupled with the dense bushes near the area where the body was discovered, obstructed visibility. Following the discovery, the police began exploring various hypotheses regarding the victim's death. One possibility was that she had taken her own life by drowning in the lake due to despair. Another theory suggested she might have been walking by the lakeside, enjoying the scenery, and accidentally slipped, resulting in her drowning. The most alarming hypothesis, however, was that she had been murdered and her body disposed of in the lake to conceal the crime. The first hypothesis, suicide, seemed unlikely to investigators. The victim's attire was tidy and fashionable, which contradicted the common behavior of individuals contemplating suicide, who often neglect their appearance. Moreover, those planning such an act often carry identification or personal items to assist with identification, sometimes even wrapping them in plastic to protect them. The absence of these indicators further undermined this theory. The second hypothesis, accidental drowning, appeared somewhat plausible but left unanswered questions. The uneven, difficult terrain surrounding the lake made it puzzling why someone would wear high-heeled shoes to walk there. Additionally, it raised questions as to why the victim had no personal belongings like cash, identification, or a mobile phone. These details cast doubt on the scenario. The third hypothesis, that the victim had been murdered and her body dumped in the lake, became the primary focus of the investigation. This theory prompted the police to delve deeper, aiming to uncover the exact cause of death and identify a potential perpetrator. A breakthrough came when the in-depth autopsy report was released. Forensic experts determined that the victim had died around May 18th, 5 days before her body was found. However, the report contained a surprising detail that left the police perplexed. The body showed no signs of external injury or strangulation. The cause of death was ruled as drowning due to water inhalation, not mechanical asphyxiation, which directly contradicted earlier suspicions of murder and body disposal. This contradiction left the true nature of the incident shrouded in mystery. Was it merely an accident, or did it conceal a deeper secret? For the police, the most pressing task now was to uncover the identity of the victim. Determined to solve the case, the victim's identity revealed. The investigation team captured close-up photographs of the victim's body, documenting her clothing and physical features. These images were printed and distributed as officers canvassed local residents. In addition, announcements were broadcast through local loudspeakers, and notices about the unidentified body were posted in central locations and along main roads. Xiangzhou village, where the body was discovered, became the focal point of the investigation. The police appealed to the public for cooperation, hoping that someone who recognized the victim would come forward to assist in identification. A day after the notices were widely disseminated, the phone rang at the Lichang County Police Station. The caller was Zhang Jianzhou, a 35-year-old resident of Tianwu Village, about 15 kilometers from Xiangzhou. Zhang explained that his mother-in-law, Mrs. Su, had urged him to contact the police to determine if the victim found in Zhao Qi Lake was his wife, Yang Yuji. Yang Yuji was Mrs. Su's daughter and Zhang's wife. Upon hearing a description of the victim's physical features, Zhang noted many similarities with his wife and decided to visit the police station to identify the body. In the forensic examination room, Zhang was shown the victim's clothing, shoes, and hair clip. He immediately recognized them as items belonging to his wife. The Buddha pendant necklace found on the body removed any doubt, as Zhang had given it to her as a gift. All details, age, height, physique, and hairstyle matched Yang Yuji. Zhang was 100% certain that the body was his wife's. He also informed the police that Yuji had been out of contact with her family for several days. Subsequently, Yuji's parents arrived at the police station and confirmed that the body was indeed their daughter's. With the victim's identity finally established, the police launched an extensive investigation, focusing on Yang Yuji's personal background and social relationships. At the time of her death, Yuji was just 22 years old. She had married at 18 and was the mother of 2 children, a 4-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. Marital conflict, the victim's final journey. The victim's husband, Zhang Jianzhou, revealed that he had lost contact with his wife nearly 2 weeks prior. Strangely, the forensic report estimated the time of death to be around 5 days ago, raising questions about the longer duration of her absence. When asked about this discrepancy, Zhang explained that not long before, Yang Yuji had expressed her desire to visit her parents in a neighboring village, citing the stifling atmosphere at home. Out of care for his wife's well-being, Zhang agreed and encouraged her to take as much time as needed to feel at ease. Yuji left their home with a large suitcase, packing plenty of clothes. Zhang assumed she would stay with her parents for at least 2 weeks. However, when he called to check in, Zhang was surprised to learn from his in-laws that Yuji had not visited them. Instead, Mrs. Su, Yuji's mother, informed him that she had gone to Hubei province to visit her brother. From that point on, Zhang was unable to contact his wife. Strangely, while Yuji's parents could still reach her, all of Zhang's attempts at communication were blocked. Zhang told the police he couldn't understand why his wife would behave this way, especially since they hadn't had any recent arguments. Interviews with neighbors painted a different picture of Zhang and Yuji's relationship, revealing that it had been troubled for a long time. Mrs. Su had never liked her son-in-law, believing he was too poor and uneducated. Zhang, who had grown up in a broken family, started working early and did various manual jobs to make a living. When Zhang and Yuji decided to marry, Mrs. Su demanded a bride price of 80,000 yuan, a significant sum for a rural family in 2013. Despite his best efforts to save and borrow, Zhang could only gather 15,000 yuan. Mrs. Su considered this amount insufficient, but allowed the marriage because Yuji was already pregnant. However, there was no formal wedding ceremony, just a simple meal to mark the occasion. After their marriage, Yuji moved into Zhang's modest home, but tensions with her parents persisted. Mrs. Su never fully accepted Zhang as her son-in-law and frequently pressured him to pay the remaining bride price. Whenever the couple visited her, she would compare Zhang unfavorably to her younger son-in-law, who was wealthier and more socially adept. Even after Yuji gave birth to their second child, Mrs. Su continued to pressure her daughter to divorce Zhang and find a more deserving husband. This interference strained the couple's relationship. Once deeply in love with her husband, Yuji began to pick fights more often. Influenced by her mother's negative remarks about Zhang, Mrs. Su frequently advised her daughter to leave Zhang, which created a stifling atmosphere in their marriage. Despite these challenges, Zhang claimed he remained patient and caring toward his wife. When questioned by the police, Mrs. Su shared that Yuji had called her shortly before her death to check on her health. During the conversation, Yuji mentioned that she planned to return home on May 15th to celebrate their younger daughter's second birthday. Mrs. Su believed her daughter would definitely return for the occasion, as Yuji was very devoted to her children. However, she was shocked to learn that Yuji had died at Zhao Qi Lake. Mrs. Su speculated that Yuji's return might have sparked an argument with Zhang, possibly about her dishonesty regarding her whereabouts. She suggested that Zhang might have lost his temper and harmed his wife. Based on this statement, the police decided to interrogate Zhang again. Zhang firmly denied the accusations, stating that he had not spoken to Yuji since she left for Hubei to visit her brother. He also noted that Yuji had not called to wish their daughter a happy birthday on May 15th. Despite Zhang's denial, the police began to suspect him. They theorized that marital conflicts, combined with Yuji's recent lies, might have escalated into a fatal confrontation. Zhang was officially listed as the prime suspect, and an investigation into his actions was launched. Forensic reports indicated that Yuji had died on May 18th. Based on this timeline, the police examined Zhang's whereabouts on that day. They visited the restaurant where Zhang worked, located about 5 kilometers from his home. The manager provided timekeeping records confirming Zhang had been at work on May 18th. Other employees corroborated this, noting that Zhang had worked overtime until 9:30 p.m. to cover for a sick colleague. Surveillance footage from the village entrance and nearby homes also showed no signs of Yuji returning home after May 15th. For now, the police lacked sufficient evidence to charge Zhang. If Zhang wasn't responsible, then who was? Was Yuji's death truly a case of suicide, as initially suspected? Despite these lingering questions, the investigation team strongly believed that another individual had played a role in her death. They hypothesized that Yuji might have arranged to meet someone at the lake and been pushed into the water during the encounter. The turning point in the case and unresolved mysteries. The police immediately investigated young Yuji's movements and call history. Records showed that on the afternoon of May 15th, Yuji checked into the Tianqiao Hotel in Lichang County. Accompanying her was a young man. Surveillance footage from the hotel revealed that on the morning of May 16th, after checking out, the two left together on a motorbike. After that, no further traces of them were recorded. However, the police managed to note the license plate of the motorbike and quickly identified its owner as Zhang Jinqing, a close friend of Zhang Jianzhou. Surprisingly, upon reviewing the surveillance footage, the man accompanying Yuji was not Zhang Jinqing. During questioning, Jinqing explained that on May 15th, Yuji arrived at his workplace with another man wearing sunglasses, approximately 1.7 meters tall with a muscular build. Yuji introduced the man as a relative and asked to borrow Jinqing's motorbike. Although she described it as borrowing, Yuji slipped 200 yuan into Jincheng's pocket as a rental fee. Jincheng agreed, as he had recently purchased a new bike and no longer used the old one. Yuji told Jincheng that she and the man planned to use the motorbike to attend a relative's funeral in a neighboring county. However, when the police investigated, they found no evidence of any funeral taking place at that time, leading them to suspect Yuji had lied about her destination. The seemingly dead-end trail took a turn when the police examined Yuji's call records. They discovered that on the night of May 18th, Yuji's phone had made 6 calls to a number ending in 86. The number belonged to a 29-year-old man named Nie Xiaoqian, who lived in Lichang County. When questioned by the police, Xiaoqian appeared confused and denied knowing anyone named Yang Yuji. He claimed the calls were made by a colleague, Yang Dong, who had borrowed his phone, saying it was his new number. The police quickly located Yang Dong at the coal mine where he worked and arrested him for questioning. During the interrogation, Yang Dong admitted to killing Yuji, claiming she knew too much and deserved to die. This chilling statement raised a critical question. What did Yuji know that made her a target for silencing? The police suspected Yang Dong might be involved in a serious criminal operation, such as drug trafficking or murder. However, despite being interrogated for several days, Dong refused to disclose any further details. With the suspect remaining silent, the police were forced to continue their investigation independently. The crimes of Yang Dong, unveiling the roots of evil. While reviewing unresolved cases in the area, the police uncovered a murder from late 2008. A taxi driver named Liu Hanwu had been killed, and his personal belongings stolen. The case had gone cold due to a lack of suspects. Upon re-examining the evidence, the police discovered a key detail. Shoe prints at the crime scene matched an old pair of shoes found at Yang Dong's home. Faced with this evidence, Yang Dong confessed to his involvement in the 2008 murder, implicating his accomplice, Zhu Xiaowei. Zhu was arrested shortly after and admitted that the two had killed the taxi driver to rob him. In a fit of anger, Zhu further revealed that Yang Dong was not only linked to the 2008 case, but also to another crime. In 2011, Yang Dong had allegedly killed a woman named Liu Yuan following an argument over bride price. Yuan had demanded an exorbitant amount that Yang couldn't afford. Furious that his girlfriend was only interested in money, Yang tricked her into going up a mountain, where he attacked her. Zhu claimed he was the only person who knew the truth about this crime because he and Yang had sworn to keep it a secret. However, feeling betrayed by Yang for dragging him into the current investigation, Zhu decided to expose everything. When the police contacted Liu Yuan's family to verify the story, they were surprised to learn that she was still alive, albeit permanently injured. This revelation complicated the case further. Yuan recounted that in October 2011, Yang Dong had lured her to a mountain and pushed her into a pit. Fortunately, a man gathering firewood heard her cries for help and rescued her. Fearing retaliation, Yuan and her family devised a plan to fake her death and move to a different location to avoid Yang. With this new information, the police interrogated Yang Dong again. Confronted with the mounting evidence, Yang finally confessed to the truth. An illicit affair and a deadly plan. Yang Dong admitted he had not known Yang Yuji prior to May 15th. They had met by chance while sitting next to each other on a long-distance bus from Hubei to Shanxi. During the journey, they struck up a conversation. Yuji claimed she was divorced and living alone, while Yang Dong lied about being a wealthy businessman who owned 2 fashion stores, one in Shanxi and the other in Hubei, frequently traveling between the 2 locations. Yuji shared that she was originally from Shanxi and had just visited her brother in Hubei. Their conversation was lively and lighthearted, creating a good impression between them. As the bus neared its stop, Yuji suddenly confessed that she liked Yang Dong and asked if they could explore a relationship. Flattered by her beauty and charm, Yang Dong shyly agreed. After getting off the bus, the two quickly developed a relationship. Yuji took Yang Dong to her husband's close friend, Zhang Jinqing, introduced him as a relative, and borrowed Jinqing's motorbike under the pretense of attending a funeral. In reality, she wanted the bike to make their travels easier. They then checked into a hotel and stayed there until the morning of May 16th. During this time, Yuji confided that she didn't want to return home because she was tired of seeing her husband. After checking out, she followed Yang Dong to his rented room. Yang Dong admitted that he was initially attracted to Yuji's appearance, but quickly grew bored after they became intimate. He claimed she wasn't as exciting as the younger women he had dated before. However, upon learning that Yuji had a substantial bank account, he pretended to care for her to exploit her financially. Yuji, unaware of his true intentions, believed he genuinely loved her. Yang Dong fabricated a story about needing capital to expand his stores. Without hesitation, Yuji loaned him 10,000 yuan just a day after meeting him. Once he had the money, Yang Dong dropped the facade and revealed his true nature. He confessed to being a mere laborer and even boasted about committing 2 murders in the past. He warned Yuji not to make trouble and demanded she continue giving him money. To his surprise, Yuji wasn't intimidated. She declared that if Yang Dong didn't treat her properly, she would report him to the police, exposing his murder confessions. Realizing he had made a grave mistake by confessing to her, Yang Dong decided she had to be silenced permanently. The fateful night and a husband's pain. On the evening of May 18th, Yang Dong lured young Yuji out under the pretense of a date, but instead took her to a secluded lake in Xiangzhou village. His real plan was to push her into the water to drown her and eliminate any potential trouble. Yuji, believing it to be a romantic outing, dressed extravagantly for the occasion. When they arrived at the desolate location, she expressed curiosity. Yang Dong quickly offered an excuse, claiming that he couldn't afford a luxury hotel, so they would enjoy a million-star hotel under the open sky instead. Convinced by his sweet words, Yuji agreed without suspicion. Upon reaching the lakeside, they stopped their motorbike, and Yang Dong embraced Yuji from behind in a seemingly affectionate gesture. She, unguarded, turned around to kiss him, taking advantage of her trust. Yang Dong lifted her and threw her into the lake. Unable to swim, Yuji struggled desperately but soon succumbed to drowning. In this cruel way, Yang Dong ended the life of the 22-year-old woman just 3 days after meeting her, having already taken 10,000 yuan from her. When police searched Yang Dong's rented room, they found several of Yuji's personal belongings, including her phone, suitcase, and other items carelessly discarded in a corner. After the murder, Yang Dong believed that killing Yuji would resolve all his problems. However, he underestimated the flaws in his plan. One of Yang Dong's biggest mistakes was failing to dispose of Yuji's belongings. Instead of getting rid of them, he left them in his room. Additionally, after discovering that Yuji's bank account still held a significant balance, he used her phone to contact his colleague Lu Hanwu to arrange a drinking session. This careless action provided a critical lead for the police. Yang Dong, though calculating in his murderous intentions, was undone by his greed, his desire to access Yuji's remaining funds, and his careless retention of items, such as the shoes he wore during the 2008 murder of taxi driver Lu Hanwu, ultimately led to his downfall. Despite the shoes being old and worn, he kept them under a shelf, which became a key piece of evidence in linking him to the crime. In the end, both Yang Dong and his accomplice Zhu Xiaowei faced justice in court. Zhu received a 35-year prison sentence for his role in the 2008 case and for cooperating with investigators. Yang Dong, however, was sentenced to death for a series of crimes, including murder, robbery, and other offenses. As the truth came to light, the person who suffered the most was perhaps Zhang Xiangzhou, Yuji's husband. He endured the anguish of being falsely accused of his wife's murder, only to discover that she had betrayed him. Yuji's infidelity not only broke her marriage, but also left devastating consequences for her family. Now, Zhang must bear the heavy burden of working to provide for and raising their two young children alone, playing the roles of both father and mother. The road ahead will undoubtedly be filled with challenges, but he continues to strive to give his children the best possible future, despite the pain of his loss and betrayal. What are your thoughts on the perpetrator and the victim in today's case? Let us know in the comments below to join the discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support our channel. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.